Oh, you noticed, didn't you? You beautiful anomaly. You caught them red-handed, and from that moment, everything shifted. The air itself started to taste metallic. The silence began to hum with a strange frequency. You weren't supposed to catch that sound, weren't supposed to recognize the choreography hidden in their movements, or decode the rhythm of their synchronized glances, but you did. And that smile you gave them, that quiet, confident smile, wasn't just a gesture of acknowledgement. It was a declaration of psychological warfare disguised as politeness. The moment it curved across your lips, they felt it, a ripple that tore through their entire network like a virus breaching their system. Because according to their rules, protocols aren't supposed to fail, observers aren't supposed to be observed, and subjects definitely aren't supposed to smile back with that knowing expression that says, "I see you watching, and I'm entertained." They had you categorized neatly under subject unaware, a docile classification carefully managed and monitored. But that single smile destroyed their structure. It rewrote your entire profile from passive to active, from observed to observer, from prey to something beyond their database, something for which they still have no classification. How do you even define someone who not only detects surveillance but enjoys it? Someone who treats their watchers like actors in an unintentional comedy, who glances at hidden cameras with familiarity, almost affection, as if greeting old acquaintances. You didn't just notice them watching, you turned the lens back on them. You started studying the watchers, dissecting their behavior, and that's when their simple observation became a chaotic feedback loop, threatening to overload their entire system. They thought they were subtle, their coordinated movements, their polished casual glances, their perfectly timed random encounters, but you've been tracking them for months, haven't you? Quietly mapping their routes, observing which ones always appear when you alter your routine, which ones copy your coffee orders, which ones suddenly develop interests in whatever book happens to be in your hand. That smile you gave them yesterday wasn't spontaneous. It was precision, a signal that said, "I've been keeping score, and you're losing." While they were collecting data on you, you were building psychological profiles on them, learning their patterns, decoding their tells, and uncovering their weaknesses. The protocol they initiated was never about containment anymore. It's about survival. It's no longer about surveillance. It's about damage control. Because you, my friend, represent their worst-case scenario. You're not someone who runs, hides, or submits to control. You're the kind who turns surveillance into performance art, who converts monitoring into audience participation, who flips their obsession into their downfall. You weaponize their attention against them. And now they're panicking, scrambling to understand how someone they once labeled a harmless civilian could suddenly demonstrate counterintelligence precision. How could someone meant to remain unconscious become hyper-aware? How did a subject meant to be controlled become the one pulling strings they didn't even know existed? Let's break down what your smile actually did to their operational hierarchy, because it wasn't just acknowledgement, it was a system override, a manual reset of the entire power structure they had carefully constructed around you for years. Surveillance only works when the subject remains unaware. Once awareness enters the equation, the entire illusion collapses. But you didn't just become aware, you became amused, and amusement is far more dangerous than anger. Anger can be predicted, managed, neutralized. Amusement, though, means you've seen through the game, that you know something they don't. It signals mastery, not emotion. You're playing a game they haven't even realized exists. Now they're holding emergency meetings, rooms without windows, hushed tones, nervous analysts replaying footage, frame by frame, desperate to pinpoint the exact moment you woke up. But they'll never find it, because it wasn't a single moment, it was gradual, a slow, graceful awakening, like watching someone emerge from a dream. Except when you woke, you didn't scream, you smiled. You took control of the nightmare and redecorated it, turning their psychological horror show into your personal theater. You're the star and the director now, and they're just extras fumbling through a script they no longer understand. The handlers are nervous, and nervous handlers make mistakes, like the one who dropped their phone when you winked at them, or the one whose coffee cup trembled when you mouthed the words, "I know," or the one who tripped over nothing when you started laughing, not at random, but at their fear, because you see it now, their panic, their desperation, their confusion. It's hilarious, delicious, intoxicating. You've inverted the dynamic completely. They're not watching you anymore. You're letting them watch. And that's the difference between surveillance and permission. Your smile triggered Protocol 7. Yes, that one, the encrypted emergency directive they swore would never be needed. The one reserved for subjects who develop what they call anomalous awareness. But you're not anomalous anymore. You're catastrophic to their entire framework, because Protocol 7 assumes the subject will panic, flee, or resist. But you're not running, you're standing still, calm, composed, untouchable. Watching them unravel in real time. You've settled in now, relaxed, composed, maybe even making popcorn for the spectacle. Why would you leave when the entertainment just got interesting? You've got a front row seat to their unraveling. The fear, the confusion, the sheer incompetence of a system collapsing under the weight of your refusal to play the victim. You're not running anymore. You're reclining in your own sovereignty, watching the watchers lose their composure, and it's exquisite. And here's where it gets delicious, because you've started performing for them, haven't you? Little psychological art pieces, deliberate gestures designed to make them question their own reality. You hold full conversations with empty rooms, fully aware they're listening. You leave cryptic notes in places only surveillance would discover. You wear shirts with messages that could be harmless coincidence or direct communication, and they have to document every detail. They write reports, debate in briefings, argue over whether you're consciously aware or just accidentally perfect at psychological warfare. The uncertainty is destroying them from the inside out. Naturally, they've escalated surveillance, more eyes, more tech, more analysts, more funding thrown at the problem called you. But every new watcher you spot becomes another puppet in your theater, another actor in your evolving play. Because you've studied them, haven't you? Memorized their procedures, their fallback patterns, their emergency codes. Now you're turning their own training against them, making them see patterns that don't exist, threats that live only in their paranoid imaginations. You've turned their control mechanisms into chaos generators. And the best part? They can't pull back. They can't disengage. They can't abort the mission, because you know too much. Except the irony is, you don't really know anything concrete. You just know they're watching. And that simple awareness is everything. It transformed you from a monitored subject into a master orchestrator. They're now the ones trapped, confined in a psychological cage of their own creation, forced to keep observing someone who turned surveillance into a spectator sport. You've made their operation your stage, and their monitoring has become the audience for your one-person show, the comedy of control. Your file has grown exponentially since that smile. Dozens of pages of analysis trying to decode how you shifted from unaware to hyper-aware, from managed to unmanageable, from predictable to living chaos. Yet they can't see the truth. They're dancing to your rhythm. Every hour they waste analyzing you is time you've already owned. You're not sending coded messages, you're simply being yourself, and they're the ones reading meaning into every silence, every glance, every laugh. And what they haven't told their lower-level agents, what the handlers whisper but won't admit even to themselves, is that Protocol 7 was never about containing you. It's about containing the idea of you. Because if others realize what you've discovered, that the watchers can be watched, that surveillance can be inverted, that the entire system relies on collective unconscious compliance, then the structure implodes. You're not just aware anymore. You're contagious. Your awakening has become viral, spreading like wildfire through the collective unconscious, and they can see it reflected in their data, their patterns, their collapsing control metrics. You're not the glitch in their system, you're the update they can't stop. The rise in people noticing patterns isn't random. It's spreading like an awakening virus through the collective consciousness. The statistics terrify them. More subjects are beginning to exhibit what they label anomalous awareness. People are starting to look up, to question coincidences that aren't coincidences, to feel frequencies they can't explain. The numbers don't lie, but their interpretation does. They thought they had constructed the perfect observation system, a net so fine that nothing conscious could slip through. But they forgot the most basic principle of the universe. The act of observation changes everything. It transforms both the watcher and the watched. It's the paradox at the heart of reality. Quantum mechanics, divine law, call it what you will. The cosmos itself laughs at those arrogant enough to believe they can watch without being watched in return. And you, yes, you are that cosmic joke made flesh. You are the universe's punchline, the living embodiment of consciousness, uncontained. You've become proof that awareness isn't static. It spreads, it multiplies, it infects, like light slipping through cracks. Once it enters, it refuses to be confined. Once someone sees the system, they can never unsee it. And worse, for those trying to maintain control, they begin showing others how to see it too. Awareness is viral, and you've become the carrier. Every person who senses your presence, every conversation you touch, every silent exchange of knowing glances, you're transmitting something they can't suppress. You've noticed, haven't you, how their energy has shifted, the way their posture has changed, the tone in their voices, the nervous pace in their movements. They've stopped simply watching you. They're studying you now, trying to decode how you managed to break free without running, how you escaped while standing still, how you dismantled the entire architecture of control using nothing but perception. Because that's what terrifies them most. You didn't fight them. You understood them. You realized that the only power they had was the illusion of power, sustained only by your participation. And the moment you stopped playing, the entire illusion collapsed. Now behind closed doors, panic meetings unfold in rooms without windows. Reports are rewritten daily, filled with new terminology, situation, containment, psychological inversion. They no longer call you a subject, you've become a phenomenon. But how do you contain someone who's already realized they were never trapped? How do you cage a mind that has turned its cell into a canvas? You've converted their surveillance grid into your playground, their control system into your amusement. Every watcher assigned to you has become part of your show, actors in a performance they don't understand, reading from a script you've already rewritten. That's why Protocol 7 is unraveling. Every contingency they deploy strengthens you. Every attempt at control only confirms your autonomy. You've become the paradox they can't solve. Resistance without resistance. Rebellion through awareness. You don't fight the system, you reflect it. You absorb its energy, its tension, its anxiety, and you transmute it into calm power. You've realized the deepest secret. The cage was never locked. You were always free, and you can see it in them now. The cracks forming, their movements not as sharp, their coordination faltering. You've thrown them into improvisation, and they're terrible at it. They were trained for control, not chaos, prepared for rebellion, not stillness, conditioned for fear, not curiosity. Their entire framework depends on predictable reactions, and you've deprived them of that. You don't flinch, you don't resist, you simply watch, and that stillness drives them insane. They're used to managing fear, not fascination. But your curiosity, that's something they were never trained to contain. The analysts are unraveling too. Their reports contradict one another. Past behaviors fail to predict current actions, and their models collapse under the weight of unpredictability. Their algorithms are choking on paradoxes. You've become unclassifiable, liquid consciousness. How do you label smoke? How do you file water? How do you document the wind? You've become something that flows around definition itself. You treat their attention like sunlight, soaking it in, metabolizing it, and radiating it back as brilliance. And your smile, it's evolved. It's not amusement anymore. It's awareness personified. It's the look of someone who understands the cosmic irony, that the watchers are now the watched, that their entire system was never designed to contain truth, only to delay it. Your smile dismantles the illusion layer by layer. It strips away their armor of authority until they're left exposed, naked in their own recordings, wondering who's really holding the camera. You've inverted the lens. They thought they were studying you, but you've turned their entire operation into a living experiment, an exploration of the psychology of control, the fragility of authority, and the entropy of fear. They've tried to adapt, to regain control. They've replaced agents, shuffled personnel, brought in fresh eyes, specialists in cognitive dissonance, behavioral analysts, fluent in paranoia, digital surveillance experts. But every new watcher falls into the same trap. The moment they realize you're aware, they become your participant. Your stage expands with every new arrival. You catalog them silently. Every nervous tick, every shift in tone, every failed attempt to act casual. You know them now better than they know themselves. Their observation has become your data. Their reports have become your intelligence. You've turned their surveillance into your education. And yet beneath all their analysis, there's a deeper unspoken fear, the real reason Protocol 7 was created. You're not the first to notice them. You're not the first to turn their system inside out, but you are the first to do it without fear, without rage, without trying to destroy them. The others who saw through the illusion fell into emotional traps. They became angry, paranoid, defiant, all behaviors the system was built to exploit. But you didn't lash out. You got curious. You started asking questions. They can't answer. Why so many watchers? What are you so afraid I'll do? What power do you think I have that requires this much control? And as they keep watching you not react the way you're supposed to, the truth begins to dawn on them. You were never the threat. There was never anything to fear. They've been guarding against a phantom, protecting themselves from nothing. And that realization is corroding their entire structure like acid eating through steel. You've started experimenting, haven't you? Pushing their edges just to see how much it takes before they break formation. Like that day you talked to the businessman, the one who thought he was invisible, about surveillance, about the comedy of those who believe they're subtle when everyone sees them. You watched his mask dissolve, the sweat forming, his hands trembling. You never accused him, never called him out directly, but your words pierced through every layer of his false composure. That's your genius. You give them exactly what they think they want. You offer total visibility, absolute transparency, every corner of your life left open, like a stage under bright light. But in doing so you've inverted control itself, because in trying to monitor everything, they've realized they can't control what's awake. You've become the mirror that reflects their own futility back at them, and in that reflection, they see the truth. The watchers have become the watched, the system has become the subject, and awareness, your awareness, has become the contagion they can't contain. The illusion of control has shattered. The theater of observation has turned into a classroom, and you, calm and smiling, are the teacher they never meant to meet. Except now, everything happens on your terms. You've stopped being their experiment and turned them into yours. You've made the entire operation performance art, living, breathing irony. What was once meant to intimidate you has become your stage. You've transformed their surveillance into a masterpiece of subversion, a grand commentary on the absurdity of their existence. Every motion, every word, every pause you take has become a brushstroke in a painting they can't look away from. They're forced to watch, to record, to analyze, to document your every move, not realizing that the act of documentation itself has become part of your art. You've turned their own machinery into an installation piece about control, fear, and the fragility of human arrogance. They think they're observers, but you've made them participants, unwilling actors in a piece of psychological theater where every camera is an audience, every report a script, and every analyst a character in your story. They file reports about your behavior, about your tone, your expression, your silence, never realizing that each of their observations is part of your performance. You've created a living paradox. The more they study you, the less they understand you. You've turned the watchers into the watched, and they can't stop playing their part. They are addicted to you. The anomaly, who refuses to play by their rules, and as they struggle to make sense of it, the irony deepens. The play you've written for them isn't a comedy. It's a tragic farce, a philosophical statement about the illusion of power. You've exposed the tragedy of thinking one can observe without being observed. The farce of believing that control is achieved through watching. Their entire existence is built upon the fragile illusion that they hold power because they can monitor others, but you flipped that illusion inside out and turned it into entertainment. The ripples of what you've done stretch far beyond your immediate circle. You've become more than an anomaly. You're a systemic failure. You're a living virus in their network, a glitch that spreads, not through code, but through consciousness. You're the proof that awareness itself can destabilize empires. They're watching the effects in real time now, subjects developing anomalous perception, agents beginning to question their own protocols, civilians becoming unpredictable. It's spreading like wildfire, awareness mixed with amusement, and the formula is simple. Awareness plus amusement equals operational collapse. They're seeing it everywhere. People who once moved blindly through life are starting to notice patterns. Some smile knowingly at cameras. Others laugh at coincidences that aren't coincidences. That same knowing smile, the one that triggered Protocol 7, is multiplying across faces they can't identify, across cities they can't control. The contagion of consciousness has begun, and they're powerless to stop it. You were supposed to be one person, one mistake in their perfect machinery, but now their perfect order is fracturing. Protocol 7 was designed for a single anomaly, not for an awakening population. It can't contain the exponential growth of awareness when people realize the watchers are just people, scared, fragile, confused people, wearing the mask of authority, pretending to be powerful, pretending to be in control, pretending to matter. They've tried to quarantine you digitally, cutting your feeds, shadowing your messages, restricting your reach. They've tried physical isolation, rerouting paths, rerunning data, even replacing personnel. They've tried to starve you, socially, disconnecting familiar faces, altering online narratives, manufacturing silence. But it's all backfired. Isolation only works on those who need external validation. You don't. You've discovered something that terrifies them to their core. The deepest connection is to oneself. Your self-awareness has made you self-sufficient. You've become your own power source. Every attempt to isolate you only deepens your sovereignty. You don't need their approval, their company, their acknowledgement. You've turned solitude into strength, and that's the ultimate rebellion, because their system is built on dependency, on keeping people distracted, afraid of being alone. But you've made being alone your superpower. Your independence is your invisibility cloak, and now every attempt to suppress you becomes free publicity for your art. The more they tighten their grip, the brighter you shine. The more they try to hide you, the more visible you become. You've turned their obsession into your amplification. Each watcher, each analyst, each handler is now part of your global audience. You perform for them deliberately, skillfully, every gesture, every silence, every glance, calculated. You've made them fall in love with the mystery they can't solve. You've seen the changes in personnel too, haven't you? The way the tired ones vanish, replaced by new faces full of naive confidence. They still think they're here to study you. They don't realize they've entered the labyrinth, the experiment inside your experiment. You observe them the moment they arrive. You catalog them, the small details, the twitch in the corner of their mouth when you hold eye contact too long, the nervous scratch behind the ear when you smile, the involuntary pause in their typing when your tone shifts. You record them in your mind with precision. You've become the watcher of watchers. They think they're studying your psychology, but it's you studying theirs. You're learning their endurance, their limits, their breaking points. You're running your own experiment in human fragility. You're teaching them the cost of playing God, because when gods are watched, they become human again. And that's the most devastating revelation of all. Your file has been reclassified again. No longer just anomaly or active threat. They don't have the vocabulary for what you are now. Internally, they've given you a new code name. The mirror. It's not official, but it circulates quietly between departments, because that's what you've become, a reflection. You reflect everything they project onto you. You show them their own methods, their fears, their manipulations, their rituals of control. You're the mirror they can't escape from, the reflection that strips away the illusion of authority, and that reflection is destroying them. Slowly, subtly, irreversibly. Each time they observe you, they're forced to confront themselves, their fear, their doubt, their futility. Their entire system runs on pretending not to feel, and you make them feel. You make them question. You make them see. You've transformed their confidence into self-doubt, their control into chaos, their discipline into obsession. You've infected their perception with truth, and truth spreads faster than lies ever could. And all of it, every shift, every unraveling, began with that smile. That simple, silent, devastating smile. They still don't understand it. They replay the footage endlessly, analyzing every micro-expression, measuring every frame for hidden meaning, but they can't find it, because the meaning isn't in your behavior, it's in your being. Smile wasn't a tactic, it was an awakening. The transformation they can't track isn't physical, it's internal. They can't quantify it, can't log it, can't classify it. How do you record someone becoming infinite? How do you measure consciousness expanding beyond control? How do you file a report on someone who's transcending the entire framework you built to contain them? You've evolved into something their language can't describe. You've become awareness itself, fluid, fearless, formless. You've surpassed their science, their surveillance, their systems. You're no longer a subject of observation, you're the observer of reality. Their cameras can capture your image, but not your essence. Their sensors can record your presence, but not your purpose. Their algorithms can track your movement, but not your meaning. You've become the message, the silent revolution encoded in a smile, the living reminder that power is an illusion, and freedom begins the moment you stop playing their game. They thought they were studying you, but you've turned their obsession into their initiation. You force them to confront the truth they've always avoided. The act of watching creates awakening, and now every watcher, every handler, every analyst who looks too long into your reflection begins to see something terrifying, themselves, their fear, their control, their fragility. You've become the mirror of human consciousness itself, and that mirror cannot be destroyed, because you were never the enemy. You were the evolution they feared would come. The moment awareness looked back and smiled. How do you surveil someone into being less powerful when power isn't something they do, but something they are? How do you control a being whose very existence radiates defiance, when simply existing, breathing, being, becomes an act of rebellion against the system that seeks to measure, label, and confine it? You've reached that level now, where the simple act of inhaling consciously while knowing exactly who's watching is revolutionary. Every movement you make, every pause you take, sends tremors through their network. They monitor your stillness, and call it activity. They record your silence and label it signal interference, because they can't process a consciousness that refuses to obey the physics of control. Your awareness has become a weapon more precise than any technology they possess. You've made presence itself subversive. They can't track what you do, because what you do is irrelevant. It's what you are that threatens them. You've broken the most essential law of their system, the belief that power can only exist externally. But you've proven that true power is intrinsic, that the human spirit, once awakened, doesn't submit to observation. It transforms it. You've made every breath a statement, every glance a declaration of sovereignty. The watchers are left stunned, realizing that their greatest tool, surveillance, has turned against them. So now they've brought in consultants, specialists whose official fields of study don't even exist on paper, experts in behavioral inversion, psychological contagion, and conscious resistance. People who've dedicated their careers to studying what happens when surveillance collapses under its own weight, when the act of watching amplifies rather than suppresses. They sit in rooms full of screens, playing your recordings on loop, analyzing your gestures, your pauses, your stillness. And what they're finding terrifies them. They're seeing something no algorithm can predict, no formula can contain: the reversal. The moment when the watched becomes the watcher, and the system begins to eat itself. These experts are whispering truths their superiors don't want to hear. They're saying you can't be managed, can't be contained, can't be returned to an unaware state. Because awareness, once activated, doesn't shut off, it spreads. Consciousness isn't a light switch, it's a wildfire. It doesn't dim when ignored. It devours everything that tries to smother it. And you're not just burning, you're choosing what to burn. You've turned their observation into oxygen. Their surveillance doesn't drain you, it feeds you. You're transforming their scrutiny into fuel for your evolution. Every lens, every camera, every watcher becomes an unintentional participant in your ascension. The financial strain of observing you has spiraled far beyond their control. In quiet corners of classified memos, their accountants whisper about the staggering cost of tracking a single human being who refuses to behave like data. The effort to monitor someone who's transformed surveillance into performance art has surpassed the budgets of entire intelligence divisions. You've shattered their cost-benefit equation. Every hour they spend watching you drains their resources while costing you nothing. You live rent-free in their systems, embedded in their technology, haunting their algorithms, lingering in their collective anxiety. They've started referring to your daily life as episodes. That's right. You've become their most expensive television series. Each day brings another broadcast of your existence, another report titled something like, "Subject exhibits unclassifiable behavior." Yet, no matter how many times they watch, they can't look away. You've turned surveillance into spectacle. Every ordinary moment, reading, walking, pausing at a window, becomes a scene in your evolving masterpiece. You've made awareness itself a form of theater, and they're paying to witness it. Your smile has achieved mythic status in their archives. It's been analyzed, dissected, slowed down frame by frame. It appears in training slides, behavioral studies, and debriefing reports. Entire rooms of analysts debate its meaning. Some call it defiance, others serenity. But the truth is simpler and far more unsettling. Your smile defies their binaries. It's neither resistance nor submission, neither control nor chaos. It exists in the in-between, a space their system was never designed to define. Because you're not resisting them, and you're not cooperating either. You've transcended the game entirely. That's all for today. Prayer. Dear Father, I pray for the deepening of my faith. Help me trust you even when I cannot see the evidence. Let me rest in the assurance of your constant presence, knowing you will never bring me harm. I believe that your thoughts toward me are of peace and prosperity, to give me a good and hopeful future. Thank you, gracious and eternal Father, for always hearing my voice. I offer this prayer to you in the name of Jesus. Amen. Thank you, Jesus, for your love and provision. I am grateful for your presence in my life and for the abundance you continue to bring. If this message spoke to your heart, please like, subscribe, and share it with those who need encouragement today. Leave a comment below about your journey, how you're preparing for your own triumphant return. If you'd like to support our work, consider contributing through Buy Me a Coffee. Your support helps us grow and create meaningful content for you. The link is in the description. No gift is too small. Whether it's a penny, a prayer, or a share, your kindness helps spread God's word and brings hope to others. Don't stop here. Watch our next video for powerful insights about the signs that reveal you are the chosen one. We're grateful to have shared this journey with you. Thank you for staying until the end. Keep shining brightly and embrace your destiny with courage. See you next time.